Okay, I thought I'd take a look at the Wilson Combat ambidextrous thumb safety tactical lever. I just picked this up from Brunel's. It was about $67 with shipping. It's a pretty good looking part. Let's take a closer look at it. Okay, there it is there. There's the ambi side with the tab that goes under the grip. And there's the main side. I was hoping it would be more of a matte stainless steel finish, but it's a little bit polished. I'm going to put it on a Kimber CDP Pro that the safety broke on. Get you a closer look at it, as close as I can get. But it's a nice looking part. One thing that I like about it, as opposed to the Kimber part, is back here where it meets your frame. If I can focus in on it. They've beveled it down very thin so it doesn't irritate your hand during recoil, which is something that the fat Kimber safeties can do, depending on your hand size. So there's the safety you get with the package. And then of course you get some lit. You get an instruction manual here, if you can call it that, little instruction sheet with a few illustrations that basically give you an idea how to do it if you've never done it before. So one advantage to replacing a safety is you can take the used safety, the old one, and you can look at the knob here. You can see there where it's been filed or stoned, where it meets the sear, and that's the metal that you're going to have to remove when you install the new one. And you want to go really slow on that because you want a good tight fit. So I'm going to take a look at installing this guy and see what it's going to take. One of the first things you're going to want to do, of course, is remove your top half. So you just remove that and bam, there's your frame assembly. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is let the hammer down so there's no mainspring housing pressure on it. Don't pull the trigger and don't let it fly forward on this portion of the frame. It's very thin right there. It comes to an edge and you can bend that. And your slide runs on top of that, and that can lead to more work you don't want to do. You don't want to damage your gun. So just let that go down gently, like so. And then we're going to have to remove the ambi side grip panel so that the tab on the new one, which is here, I'm going to replace it with this Wilson Combat. So this tab here is going to run underneath this grip panel, unlike the Kimber that runs on a pin. So it's going to actually have that tab. That's what's going to retain that right side portion of the lever. So we need to take that grip off too. I'm using a Brunel's little magnet tip driver here. I bought a number of bits for working on 1911s, and it's pretty handy for taking off grips and such. So hopefully these are going to come off easily, and we're not going to have a problem with bushings backing out or anything like that. You got to watch out for that. That can turn into an expensive proposition and a grip replacement that you didn't have in mind. Don't ask me how I know that. And replacing bushings is a pain in the butt too, because not that they're that expensive, but you have to, of course, buy the things. And you were trying to do a safety, not work on a bunch of, miscellaneous stuff. So anyway, if I can get this sucker off of there, I may have to go in through the mag well with something and push up. They're on there pretty good, which is always a good sign, but they've never been off before, so they're putting up a fight. And one thing you can do is if you look inside the frame, you can kind of see that hole in there. So if you can reach up in there, you can apply a little bit of pressure like that, and then you can pop it up like I did there. But of course, be sure you don't scratch anything. So your grip panel is going to come off, and there's what it looks like with the grip panel. There's the hole I was just telling you about, where you can reach in and apply a little pressure if your grip doesn't pop off, if you've never done this before. Okay. Next thing we need to do is pull out the mainspring housing pin so that there's no pressure on this, so I can remove the grip safety and make it a little bit easier to get to work on, a little bit easier to see what's going on with the safety when I go to install it. So for that, I'm going to use the, this is what the pin removal tool looks like that fits into the Burnell, or you can use a punch or a small screwdriver or something like that that's going to fit in there. And that just fits in the end of the tool. It's magnetic, and my hands are a little bit slick with lube, so didn't want to come out, but there's what you got there. And what you're going to do is, you can see there's a dimple on one side and it's round on the other to facilitate it going in. So you're going to want to push it out from, obviously from this side, and it should push right through. This usually sticks in there, and then you can work it out and slowly let the pressure off the spring. Make sure the hammer's down, because that takes pressure off of it too, so don't have that recocked and forget that step. What I like to do is use a block of wood and then set the corner like that on there, so I have a little clearance for it, and then I just push it through like that, and you can see there the pins coming out. Don't lose it. That would be something I would do. And then, like I say, when I pull that out, that stays in there because it's only magnetically held in the handle. And don't let this thing, things fly off. You've got to take a little tension off of it and just rotate that out. If it will come out. Might have to grab it with something. I'm losing my lever. Well, here's a good opportunity to see how this lever hooks on there. See, in its front position, this pin on the Kimber safety. We can get a look at it. You can see it sticking out, and that hooks in this channel here, and we'll look at that in a minute. But I need to get this housing down and out. Well, not actually out, but just relieve some pressure. So there it is, out. Kimber uses a plastic mainspring housing, which saves weight. Okay, then you can work the other half of the lever out like so. There's the Kimber half of the safety, and we can lift out the grip safety. And there you can see the springs, you can see the hammer strut and whatnot there. So what I'm going to do is, I actually want to have some tension on the, so I'm going to slide that back in so I do have some spring tension. I'm just going to slide this up. I don't think I was showing that. And then I'm going to push this back in if I can. And I'm just going to leave that in there. I think that's going to hold it. Yeah, that's got it. Yeah, I can half cock it, because we're going to have this cocked for fitting the safety itself. You've got to have the hammer back. You can see, or maybe you can't with this light, but you can look in there and you can see the sear in the hammer notch a little bit when you look up in there, which can help when you're trying to see where it's bumping. Here's something that's kind of disconcerting on such an expensive handgun. This is the portion of the safety that goes into the grip safety, runs through the frame. And I don't know if you can pick that up, but see how rough that is? It looks like it's been grinding in there, but it worked very smoothly, so I don't think this happened after it was built on the gun. I think this was a crappy part from the get-go, and Kimber threw it in there, and on their custom shop, top-of-the-line pistol, so that this crap can happen. Shame on Kimber for this kind of quality control. But look at that. See how close I can get before it doesn't focus anymore. Now you can see it there. There's a good example of it. Now that's Kimber quality, right? Here's the other part of the lever. And you can see, how it would have been on there before it broke. So, yeah, pretty bad. Okay, here's an interesting problem I've just discovered. Is the shaft here of the Wilson Combat Safety will not go through the frame hole. So I'm going to have to take some sandpaper and get after this shaft here so that I will clear this frame hole. This has an aluminum frame, so I don't want to go forcing anything and booger up the inside of this hole. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'm just going to wrap some, or maybe I'll show you, I don't know. I'm going to wrap some fine grit sandpaper around here and just rotate it back and forth. Let's take a look at dimensions. Here's the Kimber pin. And if I can get a spot that's not all boogered up here, we're looking at what, 0.152. Let's see what the Wilson Combat's measuring, how much metal I'm going to have to deal with here. Oh yeah, it's considerably. We're talking, what, about 4 thousandths larger. So I guess I got a little bit of work to do here, but it'll have a nice fit when I'm done. Yeah, it's even thicker towards the portion there. It's 55. What is this one? Up that end. Yeah, so we're talking 4 thousandths. Ugh. 1911s, some fitting required. So if you're thinking about just throwing one of these things on, be prepared, because sometimes this is the way it works out. Sandpaper. For sandpaper, what I found that works pretty good is this cloth back stuff that goes on sanding blocks, because it's flexible and it doesn't tear. I'm going to start out with this 180. It's been used a lot, so it's really not that coarse. And see what I can do, but yeah, this should work pretty good, I think. Okay, I've got my pin size down to where it'll fit in the frame now, and the way I actually did it, I only had to take a couple thousandths off, I think, is I used the 180 grit sandpaper. You can see where I've been using it, and I just wrapped it around like this, and I held it tightly, and I just went back and forth like this. And actually I just watched TV while I did this and then tried it in the frame till I had a good fit on the frame. So this is actually going to run straighter in the frame than the Kimber part, which was a lot looser. So that's how I did that. So you're going to need a piece of 180 or similar. Like I say, I've used this a lot, so it might be a little bit smoother. But anyway, it worked. So now the next step is to fit the pad here into the frame. Okay, so what we need to do is, if you can see in there, see if I can, you can see the sear, maybe. There it is there underneath the strut. Let me see if I can, well, you're not going to be able to see it too well. Anywho, what you're going to have to do is remove some material off of this guy, and let's see if you can see it when it's in there. You can kind of see where it's hitting. Okay, you can see the bulky area there that I just put in. Well, that piece that it's bumping up against is the sear. So you need to file away just a little bit of material until that will slide in there. And the advantage to replacing a grip safety is you can kind of look at the old one and see where they filed if you're kind of in doubt, and duplicate it. I wish I could get a better look at it for you there. But it's going to be removing material off of this edge here, this bottom edge. You can see on the Kimber safety here. Let's see if I can show it to you. Will it focus? Maybe. Alright, you can see here where they filed it away there. So we're going to have to do that. Now for filing, I'm going to use that block of wood I had again, and I'm going to support it on there kind of like this, and I'm going to take just some of this material off here and try and keep it as square as possible, which is kind of hard to do working around the camera, but I wanted you guys to see this. I'll dress it up some off camera. I think actually if I used a finer file, I might do better. but you can see there the polished area. So go slow and keep trying it in the frame until you get a fit, because you don't want to overdo it. Okay, I've got a ways to go. Alright, I'm going to do some of this off camera so you're not bored with me filing this for 20 minutes. Okay, I've been working on it a bit, and you can see this area here where I've been working. You can kind of see the notch there, hopefully, in this dim light that I got. Sorry guys. Anyhow, I've got it to where I can kind of force it in. Like I say, you want to keep trying this. You don't want to, you know, take a ton of metal off or you're going to ruin your safety. I mean, this is an important piece. If you can see it there, if I push on it, there it goes moving in. And I actually now have function, but it's way too tight. So I forced it in there, and now I got to try and get it out. Let me see here. Yep, now I've done it. I got it stuck. Okay, just some jiggling involved. I got to get it up to where it'll come out. Maybe I forced it a little bit. Here it comes. Okay. Yeah, now I can see on there. I don't know if it's going to show up in the camera. I keep saying that, but you can see where it's kind of rough. And that's the part I got to get off. I got to smooth that down and remove just a little bit more metal. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a stone to kind of smooth out the file marks and stuff so it'll engage smoothly. And I'm basically doing it the same way. I'm just going to rub it back and forth like this. Can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm going to smooth that out and then we'll see if it fits. Okay, I took a little bit more off. You can see there what I've done. It's fitting pretty good now. It's popping right in. Show you here. Probably can't see it, but it's locking the sear up tight. I've got good motion. One thing that I screwed up on is I put this little scratch on the frame. I don't think it's going to be seen because it's underneath the safety, but it had a sharp edge along here. So you can see where I've stoned it. So stone that edge off if you get one of these. If it has any, you don't want to damage your frame like I did. That just pisses me off. That was stupid. Anyway, I got it working. Okay, another part that I'm gonna need that I screwed up on is the hammer pin. Because this one protrudes out for the Kimber safety to lock on there. So I'm going to have to order another stainless steel pin. I'm going to put a blued one in just to get the gun up until I can get the correct pin for it. But when you're ordering, if you have a Kimber, you're going to need that pin. If you don't have a Kimber, you won't need it, so don't worry about it. Anyway, that's number 2 screw up for me. Okay, assembly should be somewhat the reverse of what we did before. Get our grip safety up in there. Get our ambi side, or the right side lever, in there. It should partly hold it. There we go. And then we'll get the safety itself in there. And I got the plunger to work around too, so I may have to fight with this a little bit. I think I've got it. Nope, I can't tell. Alright, I've got to pull that plunger down. Where's my little plastic plunger thingy? Okay, I just use a little plastic pick here. Let's see if I can do it with the camera between us. Alright, sorry about that. I just needed 2 hands. But there it is. Looks pretty good. Now I got to get the other side on, which shouldn't be too difficult. It has to line up with this groove there. I can feel it. There it goes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on this edge here. Possibly. Let me get the slide on there. Yeah, definitely. This area here needs to have a little metal removed underneath here because it's just too positive. Yeah, that's not going to work, but it's going to look good. Okay, what I've been doing is stoning this area here and changing this curve right here a little bit so the detent doesn't go in there quite as far and create so much friction. It's just too stiff. So I'm using my black block of wood. You can use a end of a counter, a bench, whatever. And I'm just stoning that a little bit. So anyway, that's what I've been doing to give you an idea. And there's what I've got so far. So I'm going to put this in there and see if it's gonna fit or not. Let's see. I'm going to get my plunger out of the way. This is hard to do around this camera. I think that's pretty good. I think I might try it there. Let's put the other side on there. You can see it, the way it's going to fit here. I'll show you. You can see there that they groove together. So that's what it's going to look like. Okay, now I just got to put the pistol back together and we'll see how it works. Okay, there it is back together. Haven't put the grip screws in yet, but there's what it looks like. It's working pretty good. Well, it's still a little stiff. Yeah, I might want to stone a little bit more now that it's together, especially moving it from this side. That's really stiff. Wonder why. Alright, back to the drawing board. Do a little bit more work here. Okay, did a little bit more in that area there. The stoning that I showed you. So there we are again. You can hear it's positive, but now I can do both sides. I think that's pretty good. I'll have to see if my father likes it. I think it's okay. I can always change it later. Always do safety checks, of course. Make sure all your safety devices are working, obviously. After you've had it apart, make sure that it will fire. Make sure that you've got your reset like that. And make sure it's all good to go. With a Kimber, it's also a good idea to put a pencil down in there and see if it'll launch a pencil or a pen. Because if you've damaged the firing pin safety, it may drop the hammer but might not move the firing pin. So always check that too. Alright, there is installing the Wilson Combat ambidextrous tactical stainless. Thanks for watching.